How to get rich? 15 assets that will make you money. If you want to get rich, you need to build assets. Assets are things that make you money, which includes stocks, property, real estate, businesses, and more. It's important to understand the difference between an asset and a liability. For those who don't know what this term means, think of assets as money makers and liabilities as money eaters. If you want to be rich, make more money. The more assets you have generating income, the wealthier you will be. Seems simple enough, right? All that said, these are the 15 assets that will make you money. Number 1, cash. Straight up cash deposited in a bank receives interest. One problem with keeping money in a bank these days is that the interest you get on your account isn't even enough to keep up with inflation. Even so, people like to have cash on hand as an emergency. Apple, the company, has more than $200 billion in cash reserves. That's liquid. So why do rich people keep so much of their wealth in cash reserves? There are two reasons. And the first is that someone has the ability to grab hold of any opportunity that arises, which should be self-explanatory if you think about it. The dream deal of your life is within your grasp, but without enough money to capitalize it. This is the primary reason rich people save cash. 2. Buyers are more willing to give you a better price if you pay cash, and you can also loan money out with a high interest rate. This is called peer-to-peer lending. Second on the list, real estate. We love real estate. Why? There are two reasons. One is because of rent. You always get money and earn at least some amount of rent every month. Instead of the traditional system of renting, one can profit from short-term rental. If one is a bit more technologically literate, but one cannot go entirely without a more traditional rental for a stable yield, if one does not enjoy investing for high returns due to changes in the economy. The second argument is based on the assumption that despite technological advances, it will take longer for the increase in property value to come about in relation to the span of ownership. Even with the coronavirus outbreak, population numbers are still increasing. More and more people need a place to live, which means demand is constantly going up. This increase in demand leads to constant price hikes. Buying a home is one of the best investments one can make. The third point is bonds. When the government or a business might need to finance a small project, they can sell bonds to investors who want to loan them money. Bonds pay the person who buys them an amount of money every month. A bond's duration is set by the business or government, and it ranges from 1 month to 30 years. Basically, because of these investments are mostly backed by the government, they're a very safe bet. However, due to low risk, there are also low returns, as you may know by now. Bonds generally provide a return in the 3% range each year, which is better than what the banks generally offer. At the end of the bond, the original capital is returned to the investor. There are 3 ways to buy bonds: buying directly from the Treasury Department, purchasing through brokerage firm, and buying through a secondary market. Number 4, stocks. Stocks are not as complicated as those in the stock markets in Manhattan. Purchasing stocks is an easy way for you to become a part owner of a public company. For example, a company issues 10 million shares and you buy 1 million of those shares. You own 10% of the company. With this innovation in investing, anyone with just a little amount of money to invest can purchase a small share of stock in the hottest, most successful companies with practically no hurdles to enter. Number 5, mutual and index funds. Stocks and mutual funds have advantages. When you buy stocks, you purchase shares one by one. Mutual funds and index funds have another benefit. When you invest in mutual funds and index funds, you invest in the shares of multiple companies all at once. Why is this beneficial? Basically, by using an index fund, you are less vulnerable because your risks are diversified. In statistics, index funds have the best track record. If you want to start trading one at a time, you are statistically more likely to screw up. You won't be a professional trader and the idea is statistically irrational and doomed to fail. To put it more simply, index funds represent the 500 largest and most profitable businesses in the country. When the companies fall off the top 500, you are replaced with more deserving ones. The average annualized total return for the S&P 500 index over the past 90 years is 9.8%. Number 6, equipment. Anything that helps you make money or generates income for you is considered an asset. The tractor is an asset to farmers, but to programmers, the laptop is an asset. For Uber drivers, your car is considered an asset because it directly correlates to how much money you're generating. Many people seem to be fooled into thinking that buying a car means it's a dependable asset. They claim it as an asset when in reality, they're self-destructing their finances due to lack of self-control. Number 7 is patents. Patents are awesome. For those who are unfamiliar with them, a patent can be filed in order to secure your invention. It is a document that authorizes the inventor and establishes in detail the ways in which your invention operates. Put plainly, with this patent system in place, companies have to pay in order to use your product, or else you get to sue them. Patents are great tools in the business world. They have huge power and provide immense value. Patents can make you rich, and all of the best inventions are supported by patents. That's something to keep in mind. Number 8 is trademarks. Patents protect inventions, but trademarks protect any symbols, words, or phrases. Here is why this is so critical when it comes to logos or names for brands. But things really get exciting in this next paragraph. If you own a valuable trademark that has value and a marketable commercial use, you can license it to other people who wish to use it commercially. They pay you in return. Our favorite story is the one about Michael Buffer. It began in 1992 when he trademarked the catchphrase "You see before now." It's catchy and interesting. After registering the trademark, the sound from the commercial resulted in grand total of $400 million. Beyoncé trademarked the name of her daughter Blue Ivy Carter before she was born. Nobody could use it commercially. One could get trademarks internationally, but they're pain to enforce. Just to keep things interesting, 20% of US companies say that they're impacted by infringements on their intellectual property rights. The failure to acknowledge these rights is one of the major factors driving China's growth. One of the significant ways in which China steals intellectual property from the rest of the world is to loot trillions of dollars in IP per year. However, let's go back to talking about assets that will make you rich. Number 9 is brand and goodwill. There are important differences between branding and goodwill, but both are extremely valuable to any business. A brand is a statement a company makes about themselves and what they represent based on the way they leave their mark on consumers. To build goodwill, you have to demonstrate the emotional affection people have for your brand, and ownership is what defines a brand. To push a particular image of itself in the marketplace, the company makes the effort to engage in a bunch of different things to show goodwill to its customers. These things include positive community impact and customer satisfaction. Building goodwill can be a tough feat, but the emotional ties people have to companies make a difference too. Many brands that were extremely successful didn't even make their own products. Number 10, people. You can't really put a price on how important people until they leave. Most people don't know that companies aren't actually real. Companies are a figment of our imagination, and their only proof of legitimacy is a combination of their license, their existence, and the creativity and innovation going on under this protective banner. We've just told you what it is. Who's to blame? It's the people. It's a challenge for a single person to shift a company. That's true if you just look at the power that one person has with ideas alone, like replacing Steve Jobs with a former Pepsi CEO, which nearly destroyed the most loved tech brand in the world. Ideally, nobody in your company should be impossible to replace, but the harder it is to replace certain people, the more valuable an asset they are to you. To reward those that work for you, ensure they know that they are appreciated and valued. Hire the right people, and they will be successful for you. We have been lucky enough to have amazing people on our team who have stuck around from the beginning, and I am pleased to have shared this journey with them. Someday, you might get to meet them. Number 11, raw materials and commodities. The price of raw materials and commodities changes depending on the market. Be smart when buying things and wait until they're high in demand before selling them. In the past 15 years, the price of gold has increased by 278%. Despite this, we recommend investing in art because it provides an alternative asset class. A relatively few people know this, but the value of artwork has outperformed the S&P over the past 20 years. That's one of the reasons you see rich people shelling out gobs of money for artwork. They're also increasing in value. Vintage cars operate on the same principle as used cars. You're losing money in the long term. Some of the wealthiest people in the world are buying rare vintage cars that are increasing in value quickly. The same holds true for other collectibles like vintage Rolexes. When you come across one that is relatively inexpensive, look for reviews before purchasing, and it will eventually be worth twice as much. Stop for a moment and never invest in something you don't understand. It's one of the most important rules of money. Number 12, books, songs, digital courses, information, or content. Information is an awesome product to sell because it's scalable infinitely. Once you write a book, you can sell it a million times. The same is true for any other kind of info or digital product. Creating and distributing such an asset not only increases the value of the business, but can make you very rich as well. The moment your product is finished, your task is to promote it and get it in the hands of as many people as you can. Not only it is entertaining, music also has even more meaning. How? Consider the example of Psy and his hit Gangnam Style. It seems clear that success, at least as it's typically seen in the entertainment industry, is possible with just one great work. Also, Mariah Carey earns $500,000 every year from one hit song you all know and love, All I Want for Christmas. That song alone has made over $60 million. Number 13, royalties. Although we talked about them briefly, the entire subject revolved around royalties. All you need to know is that you are the author of a book. It sounds great. A film studio wants to purchase the rights to your book and turn it into a TV show. So in exchange, you're receiving a cut of money the show makes. Let's say the show is about friends. So far, you've already made a ton of money. This show has lasted for 12 seasons, and you're already rich. But that's not all there. Syndication is when a TV show becomes so popular that it gets simulcast on other channels. The cast of the show remains ever relevant in reruns, earning a paycheck as high as $10 million per year from the reruns. It's phenomenal. Number 14, unique rights. That's why we mention it, because sometimes some people might have an unfair advantage. Like in the US, with the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, which granted the Indian natives rights to gamble under state law. Assets are an attractive attribute to business. The church is an example, as they don't have to pay taxes, and it is possible for this to happen all over the world. Almost every Eastern European church operates like a business. The products and merch cost money, and the income is tax exempt, similar to other types of art museums and fraternal organizations. Number 15, first mover advantage and exclusive business concepts. When you innovate commercially, it is considered an advantage. Apple's App Store is one of such inventions. Microtransactions in games are a new business concept. The fact that Netflix moved from supplying quality DVDs to a streaming service has been recognized as a highly important asset for the corporation. It offered them an advantage in capturing market share while everyone else sat on the sidelines. It took a few years for the remaining corporations to catch up, but today streaming services are common. The same thing occurred to music. You used to buy physical CDs, then digital albums, and now you just pay for Spotify titles or YouTube Premium. Airbnb changed the hotel sector by offering a new option to rent short-term rooms. We're interested if you've made this far into the video. Which of these assets do you want to safeguard in the future? We hope you learned something useful. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and comment.